Hey friends, I'm up this morning and there's no other movement in the house. I at least had a bit of a rough night, which means Katie had a bit of a rough night. I had less of a rough night, but maybe also not what you would call an optimal night. But this morning, as I did my Qigong routine and meditation and watched the day awake. And I've been having this interesting set of thoughts, and I'm going to try and essentialize them. But over the last few weeks, when I was in Houston, I didn't watch any TV shows or movies or anything. I did zero entertainment. I still would watch, like a Sadhguru video on my phone or whatever. But I almost kind of did it consciously. I mean, for the first several weeks, I just didn't, there was just no time. But then at some point I realized kind of what was happening, and I decided, okay, maybe I'll just make this a period of no entertainment. And and entertainment, I kind of define it as time in distraction, right? It doesn't mean entertainment can't be moving and even revelatory, informative in some ways. But that's not the goal of the time. The goal of the time is to relax and kind of let go, tune out, and I think, so my impulse to put it down really kind of came from a feeling of, okay, I'm away from my family. I'm here in Houston. I'm working, funny enough, on a piece of entertainment. But I think I felt like that in order to really use that time, I didn't want any distractions. I didn't want to go to that place of, right now I'm just, because I was like, well, I could be meditating. I could be doing something that connects me to myself, which when I'm at home in my regular family rhythm, time is tight for those things. I have to really aim for the gaps, and I have to really structure my time really pretty rigorously, or else things just don't happen. So I thought, okay, I'm out here. I have, in a way, the luxury of being able to structure my time however I want, aside from my work hours, including my work hours. So let me try that. It was an interesting experiment, and funny enough, I didn't even think about it. It didn't even occur to me. Didn't even miss it. And then I came back, and Katie and I have a routine of kind of watching one short episode of a show or something in the evenings. Not every night. We certainly don't do it every night, but it's kind of our routine. It's our time to bond, and that's time that is spent in distraction in some ways. We're entertaining ourselves, we're watching something on TV, but it's also time where we're just sitting together in a room, sometimes cuddling, sometimes we're close, sometimes not, but we're just landing in one place together. And it's very often the first time that's happened all day, other than when we have dinner together, which is also pretty regular. But anyway, the point of this post is not to give you my daily routine, but because the picking up again into having entertainment in my life is an interesting experience, and it gives me a chance to reflect on what it does to my mind. And something that I noticed this morning, I was thinking about the show we just finished. We just finished a 10-episode series. It's called Our Flag Means Death. It's a Kiwi TV show about a landowner, relatively wealthy landowner who, for whatever reason, decides he wants to live his life as a pirate. So he builds a ship and takes off and literally becomes a pirate. Meets Blackbeard, the most feared and respected, the sort of most notorious pirate of the time. Kind of takes up with him, and there's this. It's a weird show. You got to be on board for some pretty serious, surreal, absurdism, but it's also incredibly, especially as you get into the later portion of the show, it's just incredibly powerful in some ways, because these characters you start to see the soul of the character poke through, and you see these tortured souls. It deals with pirates, which at the top of the show you'd think you were just watching like a silly, totally means nothing comedy, and then little by little it's almost like you're seduced into seeing these deeper, darker sides of people. And the first season has kind of a tragic ending, and there's a I don't want to, if you were to watch Our Flag Means Death, I wouldn't want to spoil it for you, but there's quite a bit of humanity in there. And so I'm sitting in meditation thinking about this. Thinking about the show, the end of the show, where they are at the end. And on one level, I was like, what am I doing? How I'm just literally sitting in meditation, like watching a TV show or rewatching a TV show, or feeling the repercussions in my system of having taken in that story. That's, I was like, talk about not being present. What about this life? And something kind of flashed for me like this, like I'm invested in this story. And that's the thing about entertainment, right? We get invested in the story, and we can sort of be, but what showed up for me was like, well, the only tragedy in my life would be to not be present, would be to miss what's right here. And somehow those two things kind of meshed, like the tragedy of the story, and then the fact that I was reflecting on the story as I was in a discipline that's supposed to connect me with myself. And then but then ironically, it did sort of serendipitously, having been distracted by this particular thing, because of the nature of what it was and the tragic element within it, did actually bring me back to myself and frame my own life as it just gave me a moment. There wasn't anything profoundly sort of like meaningful about it. It was just the meaning was just in the fact that I felt myself come back to myself. I felt myself say to myself that the only tragedy would be to not connect with my soul, would be to not be present to what is in me. That's the only tragedy. we're all gonna die. Everybody's life has a similar start and a very similar end. Like that's what we get. But the heart of it is this question of, am I true to, do I know who I am? Do I know what I'm about? Can I even admit that? I'm looking, I've been doing these, I did this values test. I'm sure I talked about it on the post a few days ago and all that stuff. These ways of looking at our life to help us just become more conscious of what we are really about. Because a lot of times we're not telling ourselves the full truth there. We're kind of, programming is almost by definition somewhat unconscious. So what we are working towards might not always be obvious to us. And as I go through that process and just let myself sit with that a little bit, I'm just at a place where I'm kind of looking at what am I really about? What am I really about? And some powerful conversations recently have also brought me to that question or that reckoning. Because the only tragedy would be to not be true to whatever that this is, to whoever I am. I talked yesterday about the universe, or a couple days ago maybe, but the universe, each of us, every human being is like a little pinhole that the universe is looking through. They're looking through us, but it's not. We just think it's us, but it's not really us. There's a whole giant, immeasurable universe looking through the pinhole of this existence. And I suppose you could blow that, the significance of that out of proportion. But I really do think there's a level of honesty. Maybe it's just something that I'm craving or tapping into at this moment. There's a level of honesty about that, and a level of letting myself be enough, right? Letting myself be enough. Because if I can't let myself be enough, then I'm going to keep reaching for illusory things. I'm going to keep trying to make myself enough. And I could spend an entire lifetime trying to make myself enough to be me. Trying to make me enough. So that's the life lesson I learned from watching a show about pirating. But yeah, that's where I am today, folks. I'm gonna go see if anybody else in this house has awakened yet. Love you. Appreciate you. It means so much to me that you tune in to these posts every day. So yeah, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.